bathrobe and his hair stuck out every which way from the restless night he had spent in bed. He looked down the road. He didn't think he saw what he saw, but when he looked harder, he recognized the gait of the person walking down the middle of the street. His youngest daughter. He couldn't believe it. Now, he was an older man and he hadn't run in a long time, but when he saw his daughter, he started to run. The closer he got to her, the faster he ran. In fact, he ran so fast that the tie of his bathrobe came loose, and that ratty old bathrobe ended up flapping in the breeze, and he was in his underwear for God and the whole world to see, but he didn't care. He saw his daughter. And when she saw him coming, she stopped. She was scared. She didn't know how he would take seeing her again. She looked dreadful. The whole town could see that. But her father didn't seem to notice. He opened his arms and hugged his daughter. He took her face between his hands and kissed her head like a blessing. His tears fell onto her face.
I'm so sorry, Daddy. Will you forgive me? I'm so sorry.
But the father interrupted her. He turned and he saw the crowd and all the laborers from his land who had followed him from the house. He said to them,
Run home and get the clothing I laid out on her bed for when she returned. Get that long white dress and the beautiful shoes. And look on the dresser in the room. You'll find a jewelry box. There is a ring in there. Bring it to me. I will get my best help to bathe my daughter and dress her.
And then he turned to the crowd and he said,
Be at my home tonight. We're going to have a party for my youngest daughter. She's home. I'm going to butcher some of my finest heads of beef. We're having steak for everybody, and there will be dancing with a live band.
Now the older daughter wasn't home when her sister returned. She was doing business for her father and was staying in one of her father's other houses a ways away and had not heard anything. When she did come back in the early evening, the first thing she heard was music coming from the house. She was shocked. Her father hadn't even wanted to listen to the radio since her younger sister had left, much less have a band around playing live music. So she asked one of the laborers on the farm, "What's going on?" The worker didn't know how to respond to the older sister. He knew she could make the strongest man cringe with one word, so he said, "Well, your dad's having a party. He's dancing with your sister. He's serving steaks for everybody because your sister came home." The older sister was livid. She said,
"A party for my sister?" So she decided to come back. Probably ran out of all her money and now she gets a party? Great. Well, I'm not going in there.
Her father heard about how distressed she was. He left the party and came out to her. She blasted into him. She didn't address him as father. She just started in.
"I've been your slave for all these years. I've been so good. I did everything you asked. I never disobeyed you. I followed every order you gave me. I've been so freaking good. Have you ever even thought of giving me a party? Obviously not."
As she talked, her voice got louder and louder. She was getting red in the face. Everybody at the party could hear her, and they all stopped talking. The music faded.
"You butchered a couple of head of beef for her. You never even thought of having a hamburger fry for me so that I could have a party with my friends. I've lived here and put up with you all these years. Believe me, I'm not going to think of her as my sister. If you think she's so great, you can have her."
Her father did not respond to her insult or her bitterness. There was no judgment or criticism in his voice. He looked in her angry eyes and said,
Oh, my dear daughter, do you not know how much I love you? I love you more than life itself. You are the heir to everything I own. You own everything already. All that is mine is yours. How can I possibly give you any more?
And then with a grief somewhere deep within him, he said,
Your sister rebelled in a faraway place. She rebelled noisily and openly. It seems you have been right here in my home, rebelling quietly and internally. It feels now like you both have been in a faraway place. She ran from my love and grace, but she is home again and has joy. You've been home all this time, but are angry and bitter. You've been so obedient, but it seems as if you have not been obedient because you love me, but because you see me as demanding. Don't you know you're a princess in my kingdom? You've been living in the center of my grace and love, and mercy and compassion and forgiveness and acceptance. You've eaten steak every night, but you've never tasted it. But have you also been lost?
At that he held out his hand to her, and he said,
Please, come and dance with me. Dance. Dance with me. Just dance and experience my love.
I don't know who you are in this story. I don't know if you're the older daughter or the younger daughter, or maybe one of the town folk who have an opinion on everything. Or you're the father. I guess all of this morning is to say that no matter what is buried deep within you, that you refuse to bring to the light of Jesus, will keep you from living freely, from living in wholeness, from living in that shalom that Jesus wants to give us. I don't know if you have felt embarrassed or abandoned or isolated or taken advantage of or jealous or sorry for yourself or angry, ashamed, rejected, worthless, unwelcome, tired, despondent. We can legitimize every one of those feelings in our lives. I can tell you a lot of good reasons why I should be able to feel every one of those things, and I have felt them all. There's lots of good reasons to feel that. But if they stick around and become embedded in our hearts, we never live freely. And if there's one thing I learned from these sisters of mine, is that they taught me that that's the one thing Jesus wanted for them. And I believe that that's the one thing he wants for each one of us. Give me a minute to